Hello and welcome to Game Design Hour. I'm your host, Miles Goldsmith, and on each episode, I sit down with the people who create the video games you know and love. And on today's episode, I sat down with two of the developers behind the video game Retropolis 2, Never Say Goodbye. Without any further ado, let's meet our guests and get into the interview.
I'm Asaf. I'm the producer of Retropolis 2, Never Say Goodbye.
And hi, I'm Eyal. I'm the director of Retropolis 2, Never Say Goodbye, and Asaf's younger brother. Together, we co-founded the Peanut Button studio for VR games.
So, how long after publishing the first game in the series did you all decide you wanted to go and create a second game?
It was an immediate decision. Even before we finished the first game, we, kind of knew we were going for a second one. The first one ends with a cliffhanger, so it's obvious we had more to tell about the world and the characters.
And the fact that fans immediately asked for more was pretty pushing us for this direction.
It's exactly the encouragement we were looking for.
Yeah.
So after deciding to make the second game, how did you all kind of land on the current plot you have for it?
Well, the process of developing the plot was messy, very messy, with a lot of mistakes. I don't know any other way to make it. I don't know how to write a story that is good on the first time. You need to write it again and again and again. And if you have some piece or nugget that it's interesting, that is funny, that it's, I don't know, making you feel something, you tell it to someone and he starts to tearing up. Even if you can throw away everything and find the right thing to build on. In that case, from early drafts, we had a plot twist. I'm not going to reveal it, but we had a major plot twist that we built it even in the first game. But in the first game, it was just an introduction to the world. So we couldn't land it in any way that would feel satisfying. So we didn't do it, but we really wanted to go for it this time. And we had a character that everyone fell in love with. Like in early stages of development, we didn't even build the game. I just wrote a script and we read it. So we found out that the character of Betty 2, she's just incredible. So from time to time, we gave her more space within the plot, and she started as a sidekick from just a few scenes. And after that, we added her to every place she can be in because she's so wonderful. And later on, we had the privilege to work with a talented voice actress. So she just became alive, and we're super happy with her character.
So in the first game, you all explored a bunch of different cool ideas for each of the levels, and you're entering the same universe using similar styles. What was your sort of process for brainstorming the newer levels for this game and making sure they all feel within the same universe, but new and exciting for the players?
So one of the first things we tried after finishing Metropolis 1 was really incorporating one of the most important pieces of feedback we've gotten from the community, which was people wanted a bit more control with their spatial hand-tracked controllers, where in the first game, it was mainly most of the interaction was just pointing and clicking at items around you, which is super fun and satisfying and is still the main game mechanic for the second game. But we wanted to expand on that idea and see what you could do with your, Phillips arms. They have those, springy poppy hand mechanism thing. And we wanted to test out, okay, what if you can remotely control your hand while it's, 10 feet away from you. So I think one of the earliest prototypes, even before all the process that Eyal described about the plot, was just how you can rotate your hand from afar, move it from afar, and then a lot of the ideas for puzzles and level designs came from that direction of exploration. And
also we had more space exploration.
Yeah, we definitely wanted more free roaming, where in the first game each level is like one spawn point, apart from one level in the first game which has two spawn points, and here you know it started with one spawn point for the first level, but then pretty fast it gets to like dozens of spawn points within the RPD, the Retropolis Police Department police station, where you can just go between different floors of the building and explore the different corridors and rooms. So that, yeah, these two ideas were the main, I think, driver for how we approached level design. Again, it was as with the plot, it was a lot of play testing and iterating. And if you'd have seen how we started off in terms of puzzle and level design, it would have been much more crude and with some puzzles that were way harder, to a degree where they were just not fun, and some parts that felt too easy, and the order, the kind of difficulty curve wasn't fine-tuned. And we gradually got there to a place where we think some of the puzzles are still challenging and be hard, but like people, when they, from what we heard so far, when they get them right, they feel just the right amount of.
We wanted to design those eureka moments, and it's very hard to design. And for someone, the same design, like it will work, and you'll have that eureka moment, and someone else won't. But we do our best to design this, because I think, especially in this kind of playing a detective, when you approach like role playing of a detective within the world of point and click adventure, the best feeling, the most fun is to have this eureka moment and getting the puzzle right and like getting to the next plot point after that.
So to kind of reach that balance while developing the levels, playtesting is important. What was the playtesting process for you all while developing this game? And what were some of the biggest pieces of information that playtesting gave you?
So as opposed to the previous game, with each iteration, we had the full game, beginning to end. And the first iteration was awful and a little less awful. And, it gradually became what it was. With this game, we took a bit of a different approach, where we had the main idea for the arc, the whole game, but we started off with like a level from the beginning of the second episode. So this game has 4 episodes in it. We started off with playing just the beginning of the second episode, and then from there with each iteration, we've both expanded and reiterated on stuff we already tested. And I think that gave us more confidence in what we were doing, because within that part that we initially tested, we kind of tried a lot of different assumptions of, just the ideas I talked about before, of just how moving between areas feels, and all the new game mechanics we wanted to.
In the first episode, we had the lighthouse, and that was the hardest, I think.
Yeah, so
in terms of playtesting.
Yeah, it was good that we got to it last, because I think by that point we were very, kind of already trained in the process of designing those puzzles.
Yeah, in the plot, we needed to have interconnected 4-floor lighthouse, where Jenny, the robotic film actor, waiting you on top. You need to get there, and you have many challenges and puzzles. So you need to go up and down between different floors, and each floor has its theme. So this was challenging. Like each iteration, we needed to improve on that.
Mm-hmm. And there were a couple of neat puzzle ideas that didn't make it to the final cut that I think we might be using in one of our future games. There were some really good puzzles that just didn't fit with the different themes we wanted for the floors. So part of the process was just saying goodbyes to really good ideas that we really loved. But there were too many good ideas for us to be able to fit into one cohesive piece. Just listening to players is always amazing. Like for the first iterations, we always bring in people to the studio and like have them play physically next to us. And that's always really, really eye-opening because during playtime, you just, when they're playing and you kind of watch and see what they explore, what they try, you really understand where you want to put these hints, what the player should do to get the plot going on and progress. And then later on, when it was more fine-tuning, we kind of did online playtesting as well, which is also great because, we watch the recorded videos of the playtest and we still have, a chat with everyone who plays it. But from my experience, just, being there with your playtester and also like talking about it afterwards, like having them process the experience next to you and like tell it in their own words, that's really, really important to us. Like now in this interview, I feel like we're talking way, way more than we do in playtest. Like in playtest, we try to be as quiet as we can and even not give away, like, even if we're really, really frustrated that a player didn't understand anything, something from the puzzle or the plot, it's really, really tempting to, to tell them, oh, you didn't, you missed this or you missed that, or after they play to kind of go back and say, what did you think about the part where da 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 da? But then you spill out the beans. Like you need to, hold back and listen to them describe things in their words. And I think that teaches you the most. Like, oh, they called one of the items something else than what you thought it was. Okay, let's go with that. Let's go with what they call it and see how to make that.
You talked about cutting ideas from earlier versions. What were some of those strange or interesting ideas that you had all thought about, carried for a bit, but then ended up cutting because it just didn't make it in?
So in the lighthouse puzzle, there were a bunch of puzzles, like physical based puzzles with fluids and water. And like you had to like rotate different pipes and that fed each other. And just a really, really interesting mechanic with fluid mechanics.
Yeah, also it was connected to another theme in the story that I really wanted to explore and ended up just cut off from the script and from the puzzles, robotic magic, robotic mysticism, because the villain of the game is the magician. And I wanted to explore his attitude to being a robot, combining mysticism with sci-fi, which I think is, and like, AI beings, which I think is super interesting, but it just didn't work. Not in this game. Maybe in later games. Maybe I don't know. Maybe in a few games you'll go to a circus or someplace where it's better to someplace that the location, the characters will be able to convey those ideas. But it was a weird idea, and we needed to cut it off and find something else.
Yeah, but there are still some remains for that idea. Like the magician was supposed to be a lot more about mysticism, and then in the lighthouse you do see some like robot astrology and but just a little, some of the background has still remains of this idea, but it's not like in the forefront of the plot line. Like the character is now much more of a trickster mobster type of villain than actually a sorcerer who has like beliefs in all sorts of
spiritualism, robotic spiritualism. I also wanted him to be more like Houdini, the famous magician who also was on the verge of spiritualism as a phenomenon, I guess, but also personally. I did a big research on him, and it's only in flavor for now because you have to cut off ideas that doesn't fit.
I mean the scope of the story was very big as it is, or as it ended up being, and so too bad.
What was it like kind of taking the story on paper and then bringing it to life with the voice actors and kind of combining it all into the game?
This is the pleasure. This is the pleasure of making something. on the paper, it's very, very dry, not that good. But the pleasure is to work with actors and work with talented artists and just making it up. In our process, we try as fast as we can to leave the paper behind and work with a gray box prototype.
Yeah, so Eyal did all the temp voices before we went into the recording studio. And so in the beginning, in the the initial version, there are a lot of foreign accent speaking characters with kind of temp dialogue, so everything is not written so well, but just to capture the essence of it. And what we say to ourselves if it manages to make people feel something with it being so crude without professional actors or even English speakers, then we've got something right. But let's see, I think for the next game we can do the temp voices with AI and then go and record real actors.
Managing scope is a very important aspect of creating games. How did you all work to manage the scope as you were working on the game?
Yeah, you need a healthy amount of being a little irresponsible about it, because if you're playing it safe, then you're doing something wrong, I think, in this business. And as with the first game, we thought it would be a much, much shorter process, and it ended up taking more time than we planned. I think so we thought we could do something for come out with like a proper Retropolis 2 within a year and a half. It took more like 2.5 years. But
Yeah,
then on the
I
other,
guess it's something we still need to be better at to manage scope.
But I heard it's not the first studio that that
at least when we announced the release date, we didn't delay it.
Yeah, we waited to be really, really sure before we announced anything publicly. But what else can I say? On the other hand, I think we did make smart choices of where we wanted to really expand on from the first game and what was it exactly that we wanted to do better than the first game, and where we said, okay, we're gonna just what areas we wanted to keep kind of more modest. And so, for example, I think I mentioned the game mechanics and the exploration. That was a big challenge for us to do, something new for us. But other areas, for example, all the graphics are still hand-drawn in VR, so that's a pipeline we already had running from the first game. A lot of the kind of mindset of the game and our approach to puzzle design. Okay, we had the new type of puzzles, but we did rely on a lot that we learned with the puzzles from, in the same style from the first game.
You said that all the graphics are hand-drawn in VR. What does that kind of mean?
Yeah, so our two artists hand drew everything in VR in a software called Quill, which if you have PC VR, you should definitely download it and try it. It's a free tool that allows you to both spatially draw and animate in VR. And it's really, really neat. I think they did an amazing work. Everything feels super, super stylized. I think it does make the game stand out, where a lot of other VR or immersive games try to be as realistic as possible, and we strive for something different, for this kind of cartoony comic book type of feel.
Is there anything that you two wish you knew before starting work on the game?
How long it would take? Yeah.
Yes and no. Maybe if we knew, we would have shy away.
Oh, I see. Yeah, we thought we could make it faster. We wanted to make the longest game we could because people just asked for a longer game, and we had an interesting story to tell, and we gave ourselves the freedom to follow the story, and yeah, it took a lot of time to make. So I wish at least we knew this. What else? Is there anything else you wish you knew?
I need to think on that one. Nothing comes up to mind. I mean, when you're working on something, you always kind of want to know how it will turn out because there are a lot of unknowns. Like you think that making a game with A, B, C, D in it will be good, and you think the storyline will be okay, but you really, really, when you're making it and it still looks ugly and it's very crude, you want to play want a time machine and you want to play the final thing to know if it's worth it. So it's not like a piece of information, more of like to know the feeling of how it feels when it's over. Like that would be amazing to have. Like I remember maybe it was like a thought that came to mind like every other day of like I wish I knew how the how the final version of it would look like. And now when it's out, I wish I knew what the reaction of the gamer community.
Yeah, it went out just 2 weeks ago.
Yeah. So yeah, the first episode came out on early access June, and then the episode 2 to 4 came out just now, just recently. And
So yeah, we still wish to know how many players will experience it,
yeah,
how will they react. Yeah, but to expand on Saf's idea, when you work on something, it doesn't look good yet, it doesn't feel good yet. So you need the confidence or the blindness to not notice it that much and thinking to yourself, okay, in the end it'll be good.
yeah, it's
Because now it's not.
it's hard to keep going when you don't know, how it will turn out, if you'll be able to finish even.
Which parts of the game did both of you have to put the most time and effort into to get it just the way you wanted it?
I think for you it was the ending.
Yeah, for me it's definitely the ending. For you, the lighthouse.
Yeah, yeah. Eyal had to write and rewrite the ending because there's a plot twist that we're not gonna spoil, but there's a lot of drama there, and we wanted to get it just right.
Yeah. This game is all about the ending.
And if the dialogue there and just the order of events there falls flat, then the whole experience.
And also, I think in the end you have about 10 minutes of just animation. And it's something like in VR, our approach to VR storytelling, the player must be active in all times and be participant in the story. So we don't want to have those long cutscenes where the player is just watching and he becomes bored because he feels things just happened and he witnessed it and he wasn't part of it. So we always wanted to have items and puzzles and things that he can make and do. But in the end, there's a climax of the plot. So there's, I think, 10 minutes of animation, which is if someone hearing us made animation in his life and in some kind of role in production of animation, 10 minutes of animations it's a lot. It's a lot. So making it right from the writing to the voice acting to the animation directing to the sound and music of it, that was a lot of work, and I hope it makes people that it moves people, makes them excited and sad and happy and all kind of emotions together, because that was what I was aiming for.
For me, the most recent memory is bug fixing after the last release, of course. But going back a bit before, there was a lot of effort and time that was put all over the game. But the most of it for me was the lighthouse sequence, which had, just the most amount of puzzles. And we really, really wanted this sense of like, these are all puzzles that the mastermind villains left behind for your hero to solve. So they needed to feel, really clever, really personalized, if you will. Like these puzzles were a way of like giving character to the villain. And so we worked on those a lot. And not just to be good puzzles, but just, to feel right for the magician who invented them.
Are there any sort of fun, small little details that you two have added into the game that you really like, but you don't see many players notice?
Achievements. Like achievements, it's for the hardcore players. repeat and play again and again. And we have some fun achievements, some very difficult achievements. There is an achievement that I saw that is very easy to get, but no one got it on Steam. On Steam, it's super easy. So I just yesterday looked up at the at the percentage of people getting achievements, and you just need to click on something to get it, like a dialogue option, and nobody chose this dialogue option because it's a bit off character for Philip to say, but that's why you get an achievement. So no one, like I think the name of the achievement is Fourth Wall Smasher, where it's an achievement where you make Philip, the protagonist of the game, say the name of the game and acknowledge it's a game. So I guess this is a fun little detail that basically no one has seen, at least on Steam, maybe on Oculus, yeah. But
There are a bunch of. There's also another place of like a fourth wall breaking that everyone sees at the beginning of episode 3, I think. And Philip says, "Oh, yeah." Betty tells Philip. He tells her his history, and she says, "It's a nice story, but it's short." And Philip says, "Yeah, that's what sequels are for." So that's it. Like every time there's like self-reflection in the game, I really like it. I think it's something that's more for us to.
No, I saw a YouTube comment of someone who liked that joke.
Okay, great. And also just, there are little details in the environments of like nods to stuff from the first game. When I polished the elevator environment, I put like this really, really small ad to contrabass lessons, like private lessons with the contrabassist from the from the band in the Blue Screen Club in the first game, and just like it's probably no one will ever see it ever.
I think this is the biggest strength of the Retropolis games. So we put a lot of effort and thought into the visual details, into the dialogue details, even in the radio. Like in episode 3, you have a radio that you can turn the dial and hear the news of Retropolis or history hour of Retropolis. And it's all thought out.
It's packed with tons of details.
Yeah, the details that are connected to other stuff that you see in the world. So I guess there are some players who notice that. Most of them won't get into too much detail, but overall, it's convincing. It's convincing that you're in a real scenario, in a real world. So that's the important part of it.
Now that all of the episodes have been released, what can fans look forward to seeing in the future?
First of all, I don't know when this interview will be released, but we have a free mixed reality game coming out this week. Maybe by release of this interview, it will be in the past, but it's still free and it's still new. So if you have Oculus Quest, Quest 2, or especially Quest 3 with the color pass-through, you should look for Retropolis Dotline. That's our free mixed reality game with we call it spin-off of the Retropolis games because it's in your home and you encounter robotic Betty 4000. She's from the future of Retropolis, and she encounters you, and you.
So like many years after the events of Retropolis 2 take place.
Yeah.
But she time travels back to the present where you played, and she approaches you as a human and asks you to help her with some RPD assignments.
Yeah, which turn out to be fun little puzzles, and when you solve them, you get items and you can decorate your house. We really wanted to try to develop something in mixed reality because it's now new and interesting. So we made something together. It's in the Retropolis universe, and now it's shipping for free. So it's something to look for, I guess.
Awesome.
And then moving on forward, of course, we've got a bunch of ideas up our sleeve.
Too many ideas.
and we'll go at it one at a time.
Looking back now, is there anything that you wish you could have done differently before the initial launch of the game?
Fix a few bugs.
Yeah.
I guess.
No, but I think most of the bugs came from the fact that a lot of our testing were prior to the Quest 3 release. And it made a difference that not only we shipped on a new device where it's a stronger device, but we needed to do some manual changes for, to really squeeze the performance out of it, which we didn't know prior. And also just the time passed and there were like some OS updates that, introduced some new bugs to the game that eventually we found thanks to your reports and just having everybody kind of help us out and reporting everything was really, really helpful. We now know that we need to do all the testing really, really close to release. And yeah, that's a big lesson. And other than that, I think, we're still asking ourselves how to do less iterations, like how to get the story and everything right with fewer iterations.
Yeah.
We're not sure it's possible, but that's the thing we're asking ourselves.
Yeah. And also like knowing from like releasing the game, we kind of forgot it's a good game. In some ways, the community, like reading comments and reviews and the way that people are reacting to that, because we worked on it for so long, and when you're working on something for so long, the jokes are not funny anymore, and the puzzle, the solution, and you played it so many times, it's hard to see it with fresh eyes. So yeah, it was refreshing and fun just to get the positive reviews and like people on Discord and YouTube commenting, just delightful. And please, for anyone listening, we need reviews. So please, if you play the game, if you liked it, if you want to help, review it, rate it on the platform, like where you bought it, just on the store. We need those reviews because they do matter and helps a lot when we get your good reviews, honest reviews. Honest is fine because we think it's a good game.
Thank you so much for your time. It's been great sitting down with both of you.
Yeah. Thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you for writing us and setting this up. And it's it's fun. And let's hope we'll have more games and we can chat about that.
And that was the episode. Thank you so much for watching. If you liked it, make sure to leave a review or like if you're on YouTube. And if you think a friend might like the show, make sure to share it with them. Also, if you want to see more content like this, make sure to subscribe or follow. It's different on every platform. And if you want to stay up to date with what's going on, make sure to check us out on Instagram, Twitter, or TikTok at Game Design Hour. Thank you so much for watching, and I hope I can see you next time.